Welcome, everybody. I'm Jaby KOAY, joined by Andrew Flash Gordon.
What's up?
And ACHARA KIRK.
Hello.
We are here to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: QUANTUMANIA, a very, very highly anticipated film. This will be a non-spoiler review, very, very non-spoiler, honest thoughts and feelings about the movie, and just, recommendations about how to approach this movie going into it. I personally was very, very, very excited about it because Ant-Man is one of my favorite characters in the MCU, and so it was very exciting to see him go into this adventure that we've all been waiting for, especially those of us who really pay attention to what's going on with the MCU and whatnot, and we watch the titles 2-3 years out. Ant-Man and the Wasp: QUANTUMANIA, it definitely lives up to the title of QUANTUMANIA because we get to live in that world for the majority of this movie. It's almost right away that we get into the quantum realm and we spend the entire film there. It's a visual feast, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I don't want to tell you the adventures therein. You get enough of that from the trailer if you've watched the trailer. But overall, I would say that for me, it was a visual spectacle, and I enjoyed that. There were definitely comedic moments that I appreciated, but overall, my feelings were a little bit... I was slightly underwhelmed by things, and I cannot be specific about that, but I just want to let you know that I was slightly underwhelmed about things, and I don't know that I would go back to watch this again, but I'm really glad that I did get to watch this on a big screen in IMAX to just soak in as much of this world as possible while spending time there. Andrew, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you said. I felt, Ant-Man's one of my favorite characters in the MCU, and all credit to Paul Rudd. He's just, there's just something about him, that there's the charm of Paul Rudd, you know? It's just, so I was excited just, getting to see the quantum realm. We got little glimpses of the quantum realm, of course, in the second film, where you see Michael Douglas's character get to try to get Janet out of the quantum realm. So we've gotten little splices of the quantum realm, but to actually get to be in there the whole film, again, just as Jaby had just mentioned, it was a very visual spectacle, and from that point of view, I'm really glad I did get to see it. There were certain characters that I did appreciate what they did with those characters in terms of arcs, or other characters I think they didn't really have any arcs at all, weren't really even characters. Again, can't get into specifics. A big issue I had in this, and again, it's a Marvel film, there's going to be tonal shifts, and Marvel is really good when it comes to that stuff, but in this film there were a lot of times where there were tonal shifts happening, and it just didn't feel balanced out for me personally. A lot of times I was just being taken out, I'm like, all right, I feel like I'm in a different movie here, and then I'm completely slapsticked into this different movie here, and it just wasn't personally balanced out for me. Again, there's times where, you can have comedy and then drama, and it can be balanced out, but too many times where it just wasn't fitting in personally for me. Overall, though, look, there was some good stuff in here. There was some stuff that I was underwhelmed with, but I say go see it just so you can, if anything, go see it in theaters for the quantum realm. Right. I would say that.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of things that you guys were saying. I think this movie was fun. It was enjoyable. It's definitely not up there as my favorite Marvel movie. It hasn't overtaken any of the ones that I previously have had at the top of my list, but it was enjoyable. Definitely the quantum realm is awesome. They did a really great job portraying that. I loved a lot of the side characters, and I wish that we could have spent some more time with them, but a lot of time was spent on exposition, which is important because, we're going into phase 5, a lot is going to happen, and so they've got a lot to cover, and I definitely felt that. For the middle, for me, felt a little bit saggy, and then it came back around, and then the end was fun again. So it was really fun and cute and quirky in the beginning, which is what I expect from Ant-Man. He's the hero for me, that is
the underdog,
the fun, quirky one,
right.
And I wanted more of that, and it got a little bit serious in the middle, and then there was some more fun stuff at the end. When the movie ended, I was like, I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. It was just kind of middle of the road for me, I'm being honest.
What are the things that we can expect off of the trailer, off of anything, if we've been paying attention to the MCU and Marvel films in general, the trailers? You're expecting another adventure with Ant-Man. You already know that. You're expecting Kang the Conqueror. You're expecting Wasp. You're expecting stuff about his daughter. Those are the things I recall from the trailer. So those are the things I feel like we can kind of talk about a little bit here without ruining the movie. And so one of the things that we are really looking forward to is a great villain. And I'm going to be very careful as I walk this, but for what I got out of the end of Loki, I was I had a lot of expectation going into this movie for what I wanted from Kang, and I don't know that he measured up to my expectations. But when I spoke to people after the movie, they were like, oh yeah, I really liked his performance, including Andrew. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess maybe it's just me because I put too much stock into that, final episode of Loki season 1. And I just really wanted to see Kang the Conqueror, like this really sinister guy that I am scared of. I wasn't scared of him. I felt more like I was watching a movie as opposed to being immersed in a movie, which is quite ironic considering this is IMAX and it's supposed to be watch a movie or be part of it. That mantra that they put at the beginning of the movie. Anyway, how did you guys feel, without giving anything away, how did you guys feel about Jonathan Majors and his performance as Kang the Conqueror?
Again, I liked the performance, but I agree with a lot of what you said. I really liked what they did at the end of season 1 with Loki. I think you and Greg, after we spoke about it at the end, after the film, that Shakespearean type of speech that he gave at the end, it was really daunting and menacing, and I just it was like that looming presence that you had when he just heard him speak. And there were a couple times in the film, again without going into spoilers, where I'm like, oh my god, you feel this inner rage from him, where it's just he's freaking scary. And I personally wanted a little more of that. And also too, I'm a humongous diehard fan of one of the greatest animated shows in the history of mankind, known as Earth's Mightiest Heroes. The way that character is portrayed in that show, again, I don't always expect, when with the MCU, them to copy stuff exactly verbatim from the comics or from animated shows, but that's my favorite version of Kang. And I know you guys have not seen that show.
No.
It's all good.
Yeah, you need to, but I love what they did there. And again, I like Jonathan Majors' performance. He's a great actor. Yeah. But there were times during the film where I was overwhelmed with joy. I'm like, yes! And then there were other times where I'm like,
But it's funny you should mention theater, because that was your comment.
Yes, so I can definitely, I don't know what Jonathan Majors' training background is, but just watching how he approaches some of the scenes and some of the monologues and stuff, I'm like, I feel like this guy trained. I feel like this guy trained classically, and he approaches a lot of the dialogue for Kang with that in mind. Like, he feels very grand, he does feel quite Shakespearean at moments. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it just feels weird. But there are definitely moments where I'm like, okay, this is the Jonathan Majors Kang the Conqueror that I've been waiting for, when he's got the quiet moments and it's menacing, and you're just like, okay, you're scary AF, and I buy that. I don't need you to be like loud, and all of that, which works sometimes. But
sometimes it can be a little over the top. But
So one of the things that we can expect going into the quantum realm is world building, and you see a bit of that in the trailers. I'm trying to focus more of the information I convey off of trailer 1, because I think a lot of people avoid the subsequent trailers because they start to give a lot away. The world building, I thought, was probably one of the best things about this movie, because there are creatures and whatnot that are super creative, just like stuff that you haven't seen in a lot of movies in general, let alone the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like new types of creatures that are like very inventive and creative, to the point where I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I really want to know how they came up with this. Was it artists coming up with ideas and the director, Peyton Reed, going, yep, that, or producers at the MCU going, yes, that's good, that works? Or was it like a mushroom influenced sort of situation of like, because the creatures were so creative sometimes, I was like, I don't know if it's just straight from the comic, but like they looked so weird sometimes. I was like, oh, this is like some Yellow Submarine type shit here. This is crazy. Yeah, exactly.
It was acidy and trippy for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. And just to add even more to that, like I agree with you. That's one of my favorite parts of the film is the world building, and again the time we spent in the quantum realm. I also loved a lot of the aesthetics in the quantum realm. Like I was getting major. I know we got in Guardians of the Galaxy, we got some major Star Wars vibes, but in this too, I was getting some Star Wars vibes. I was getting some Dune vibes, and I was appreciating those aesthetics that we got inside the quantum realm. And again, just every moment that we got in the quantum realm, I was just like, the world building and just the visuals, I was just so stunned and so happy. And again, just from that perspective of the quantum realm, like you should see that in theaters just for the quantum realm.
Yes.
Just for that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the fun little characters that you get to meet there, they were my favorite. Yeah. Just because they made me laugh. I'm there for a good time. Yeah. And it delivered on that front.
Paul Rudd is one of my favorite people. Just like, I hope he's that awesome in real life. He's just such a watchable, easily watchable guy. Like it seems so effortless how cool he is to watch.
Yeah.
And in the very perilous moments within the film, which you can expect, I think that he does a really good job of handling all of those dramatic beats. I mean, I remember in Avengers Endgame when he tries to refer to Evangeline Lilly's character Hope about like, that's Hope, she's my, and he can't even finish the sentence of she is my girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
He just starts to get choked up. I was getting choked up with him. There's something about him that's so accessible that I just buy into whatever he's doing, even in this made-up world, which presumably is all shot on green screen or some kind of like, I don't know how they did it. I didn't watch the behind the scenes, but I buy into him 100% the entire movie.
There's definitely a lot of charm coming from Paul Rudd, and I feel like he definitely carried the movie for me in a lot of moments, because I was just like, you're great. What you're doing here is great, Paul Rudd, and I appreciate it, even if I'm a little bit like, I don't know, bored, underwhelmed in certain moments. I'm just sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's funny you say that, because for me, the movie actually felt kind of rushed.
Really?
Yeah, like it rushed through a lot of important stuff, and I was like, yo, you can take more time and develop this better so I care more, because I found that throughout the film I didn't care as much as I wanted to. There were certain moments that were poignant where I was like, I am tied into this. I forget which one of you said something about his menacing moments, Kang's menacing moments. Like the emotional stuff, I felt myself kind of like hooking in, but outside of that, I felt quite disconnected while watching the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it at certain points it felt a little bit surface.
Yeah.
Can I just add one thing? Does Paul Rudd ever age?
No.
The guy looks the same as he did in Clueless, but I agree with everything you're saying. Like, I have such an emotional attachment to him just as an actor, and like he always pulls no punches, no pun intended, just in general, any type of performance he ever gives. And I love him so much as Scott Lang. You really sympathize a lot with his character. And I really liked also, too, Catherine Newton. I was a little bit sad that they did recast from Avengers Endgame. I forgot the actress that played.
I didn't realize they did that.
Because there was that one scene that they had when he thought during, again, little minor spoiler from Avengers Endgame, but I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you've seen Avengers Endgame. But that scene where he knocked on to see if Cassie had been snapped or not, and that emotional, intense moment that he had when he realized that she was still alive, I just thought they had such amazing chemistry. But again, I really liked the rapport that Paul Rudd and Catherine Newton had with each other. Again, you really feel that, even though I was about to say you feel the history they've had with each other, even though he's technically been gone many years of her life. But I like how they filled in the gaps in terms of the many years that they have been missing, and also the time that we've been the fill in the blanks from Avengers Endgame to now. I really do feel like they had really good chemistry, and I thought she gave a very good performance. I do feel like her character, again, there were things I wanted to see, I'm trying to word how I want to say this without spoiling it. Great moments that we had with her character. It's just, there were things that happened so quickly. I'm like, I wanted to go on this journey with this character, but I can't go too deep into it without spoiling it.
They didn't go deep into it. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. But I did appreciate her performance. I mean, most of the actors in this gave pretty good performances.
So the movie is called Ant-Man and the Wasp. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There is a deficit of Wasp.
Yes.
In this movie. Just to give you guys a heads up about that.
But when she arrives, she arrives.
There were certain things in this film that just didn't feel quite earned as much as it needed to be. Certain moments were not earned. It's weird because it's done in a quality way. You know what I mean? It's done with quality enough that it's actually kind of confusing, because the movie kind of almost gaslights you into thinking that it's better than it is. Because at the end, I'm like, why didn't I feel more when I watched this? Because it feels so competently made. What is lacking here? And it takes me a while to find those thoughts to articulate. Even in this moment, I'm like, there is still something I haven't fully cracked the decryption on my own feelings from the movie. You know what I mean?
It's pretty on the surface, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then just lacking the depth that we hoped for.
Sure.
Still fun.
And again, with the MCU, we've been so spoiled. There have been so many amazing films, and again, you can't expect a home run on every film, but with me, by no means do I hate this film, but it's just okay. It's and again, this is just after a fresh first-time viewing. Maybe I might feel a different way if I see it the second time. Maybe I might like it less. Maybe I might like it more. I don't know, but from a first viewing, there's nothing that stands out to me where I'm like, oh my God, like I cannot wait to see that again, where certain other MCU films, like for instance, Captain America the Winter Soldier, the second I got out of the theater from seeing that film, I was like, I almost want to go right now back into the theater and watch it right now. And so I just didn't get like that type of experience from it. But again, there were a lot of things in here that I did appreciate for sure.
There's some stuff I want to talk about from trailer number 2. So if you haven't watched trailer 2 and you're avoiding it on purpose, maybe this would be the good time to click out. So I'm going to go into that right now. It's just one of the scenes that we see in the movie. And that's the scene where we see the I'm just giving you one more second to leave in case you couldn't find that mouse or you're washing dishes while listening to this or whatever. So now you can click out. There's a scene where we see Ant-Man and like he's multiplying. Yeah. I don't want to explain any of that because there's some spoiler context around that. I just want to talk about the way that scene made me feel. I think that I was anticipating to feel more from it, but I still really enjoyed it from a visual standpoint because like it was such a visual feast, and it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning of the video, which is like the visual effects is so stunning in this movie, with the exception of one thing which I'm not allowed to talk about because it's a major spoiler. But outside of that, it's a character-related thing. That's the clue. So when you watch the movie, you like think back to this review, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a character-related thing that I didn't enjoy the visual effects on 100%, but outside of that character, the world and all the ancillary characters and like all of this world building looked fantastic. The quantum realm looked beautiful. The cities, everything. The movie ultimately doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. There's some things that are very illogical that I can't wrap my head around, like how they missed these holes, but it's so beautiful to look at. For that alone, like I said, you have to watch this on the big screen in IMAX with the best sound possible, because I feel like that's really the way to experience this film, even though the end result is like, it's all right. There's no other way to watch this movie.
And also, let's be real, we're all invested in this now.
Right.
We need to see this in order to understand what's going to happen going forward, because it is setting up a lot. And that's the challenge with this movie, is that not only does it have to be an Ant-Man movie, but it also has to set up the whole of Phase 5 and what's going to happen with the MCU going forward.
And that's been a little bit of an issue for me in some of the previous MCU films is, all right, focus on the story at hand. I know we got to set up stuff. I totally get it. You got this whole 5, 6, 7, 8 year plan. I get it. But if we could just focus on the story at hand, where maybe 10, 15% is of setup, that's where I'm most happiest personally. But yeah, and just also too, that scene you were just talking about where he was splitting apart reminded me a lot of, I'm not sure if many of you remember, there was an episode in Batman the Animated Series where he split apart when he was in virtual reality against the Riddler.
I never saw that.
Oh yeah, it was one of my favorite episodes, but I was getting total vibes from that, so I appreciated that.
You guys, hopefully you enjoyed this non-spoiler discussion. Hopefully we didn't give too much away in our effort to convey our feelings, and if we did, my apologies in advance. So that's it for now. Please subscribe, hit that bell icon, all notifications. Pretty please vote this up. Let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
Andrew Flash Gordon.
And
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.